COVID-19's effect on the world. Even before the pandemic struck the world, the global trade economy was already fractured, with global superpowers like the United States, China, and Europe battling for control on their own terms since 2017. The fact is that COVID-19 did not help, but on the contrary, it damaged the connection and trade that the world had. As this issue advanced, it was suggested that people had to prepare for the possibility of a more regionalized world. Globalization shrunk and trade only succeeded with the regions around the country. The pandemic only came to deteriorate the relations between these two countries even more. Hence, in 2022, the conflict between the United States and China had reached a no turning point, and it only worsened the world economy even more, which at the end completely regionalized the economy. Coronavirus was not the only issue that alarmed the economists on the future of the world's economy. After World War II, the United States took control and dominated the new economy, but high tariffs enforced during the pandemic affected trade, mainly imposed by political populism. At its worst, political populism threatened to reverse globalization. Also, another type of tariff, known as non-tariff measures, were estimated to be as twice as regular tariffs. This was done by politicians to seek the popular vote of the country involved, but in the end, they were obliterating the global economy, which was already getting fractured by coronavirus in the beginning of the decade. Russia was one of the countries that was affected by COVID-19 the most. In the first months, there was a steep rise in unemployment, and it only continued to rise. Since it is a big country, rural areas got the virus months after the first populous cities had it. Many local businesses had to close, and Russia's GDP contracted by 6% at first, but after the second wave hit, it contracted another 4%. The European Union was one of the areas that was affected the most. Their GDP contracted by 10.2% in the first wave, and it only got worse. Nevertheless, they never gave up and passed a 750 billion euro pandemic emergency plan, which were supposed to help many local businesses, at least those that survived the first wave. They were one of the economies that were sustained the most by tourists, and COVID-19 destroyed that source of income. The Middle East was a region in the world that was deeply affected by the virus since it started at a time where the price of the oil, which was their country deeply rely on, was depreciating. Their GDP contracted by 11% in the first wave, the most in the world. As seen in the rest of the world, there was a collapse in the small and medium local businesses. There is one thing we can be sure of. The world was not prepared for a pandemic, and the whole planet suffered the consequences. There are many other areas in which COVID-19 changed the life of everyone and affected the world economy as we know it. In order to see these other areas, check the PowerPoint that my partner Victor Molina did named Globalization in the Future, which focuses on the United States bouncing back from the pandemic.